What's up, guys? Welcome to another Solana Circuit number 28. Can you believe we've been doing this 28 times? It's unreal. Today is a particularly special day. If you did not see yet, we actually just launched rkuSOL, which is Raiku's official liquid staking token and the first ever product we have ever released. We are very, very excited to launch this in partnership with the Chads at Sanctum, who are the very special guest for today's stream. But as you can see on your right side, there's a QR code here. I'm hopefully waving in the right direction. There's a QR code here, and you can go there to stake.raiku.com, and you can go stake your rkuSOL right now if you want to. So if this stream convinces you that rkuSOL is based and you want to be based, and you want to stake rkuSOL, scan that QR code and you'll go straight to the staking page and be able to stake your SOL.
Let's go.
Let's go. How you doing today, David?
We're doing all right, Big day, big launch day. It's been working on this one for a while, so happy to ship it out the door, you know what I mean? So we're it's a good day. It's a good day, man. How are you?
Very excited to finally get this out the door, man. We have been grinding for it feels like months now trying to get this through the door. And the fact that it's finally here is pretty damn exciting.
I gotta ask, have you staked any rkuSOL yet?
Oh, brother, are you kidding? Of course I staked rkuSOL. I put my money where my mouth is. Look, David, I have to trade between watching SOL price go down in real time and not earning yield on it, or watching SOL price go down in real time and earn yield on it. So obviously I chose to stake with rkuSOL and earn yield while my net worth is dropping in real time. Obviously.
I have to say, I'm going to be glad. I assume by now I'm probably no longer the largest holder of rkuSOL, but at one point I definitely was. So, a little point of personal pride there. But
yeah, what, your 5 rkuSOL you had staked because we hadn't released the link yet? You
no,
whale.
It was 20. Okay.
I'm sorry.
And I've added, but
I didn't know I was talking to freaking Warren Buffett over here.
Yeah, we should get him involved, man. Get him staking some rkuSOL.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But besides that point, we have James with us from the Sanctum team. James, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. Good to be here. And I must say, I appreciated the banter there. I felt that personally when you were describing watching your SOL increase by having it staked, but watching it decrease in USD terms. So very relatable, mate.
Dude, I just I made a quote tweet with the ticker. Do you know how Twitter does like the new thing where they'll show the price chart, and I was just like, oh, like I'm excited, but damn, red numbers, man. It's just because SOL's going down, you know what I mean? But it's like, man,
yeah, rough week, but a good week in some regards. rkuSOL, very good week. So there is a silver lining.
And you guys helped kind of push us through that line too, because for those of you who don't know, I know obviously we said that Sanctum does LSTs. Sanctum is running the backend and the infrastructure for rkuSOL, so they are facilitating the pool and everything. And yeah, excited to talk to you today, man.
Likewise, yeah, very exciting. These kind of partnerships are always exciting for the team because it's kind of the majority of what our core business is about. We're infrastructure, and sort of our partners' success is our success. So yeah, we savor the moment. It's good to be here.
Love it. Well, why don't we start from the beginning? James, why don't you tell us who you are, what do you do, and give us an overview of what is Sanctum?
Okay, so I'm James Hanley, and I look after a number of our products at Sanctum. Particularly what Sanctum does is we basically do everything staking. So most of the big liquid staking tokens on Solana are actually powered by Sanctum. A good portion are actually Sanctum LSTs, but we don't really talk too much about that. We're not too loud. We try to let our partners' brands be front and center and their success be what it's all about. And so that's really what we're known for is basically Sanctum several years ago somewhat created the liquid staking as a service category, you know, where you could launch an LST with Sanctum with your brand on it. And we basically power all the back end, all the liquidity, the management, and such. And our partners handle the distribution, so they don't have to worry about any of that. They can choose the setup they want with the validators, whether it's their own, whether it's a mix of others, and we sort of handle everything operationally for them. And what they can do is they can offer really cool benefits to their users. They can offer great APY, and it's Sanctum actually behind the scenes. So, and Sanctum's actually been around since 2021. So one of the Solana OGs. So yeah, there's heaps of cool stuff that we're doing. And I see it on screen here. We have the Sanctum app. I'm not sure if everyone can see that or if it's just me. But this is our website. Yeah. And you can see here that the Sanctum app is something that we've recently launched, which is a mobile app where we're trying to give people a better experience staking. I mean, obviously on this stream, the message is clear, go and stake with rkuSOL. But the Sanctum app is really trying to make, we're trying to grow the pie for staking and make it really easy and approachable for people that aren't necessarily crypto natives. So I'd imagine a lot of people here are crypto natives. But, you know, I like to think that the Sanctum app and what we're doing with our work here is kind of maybe for maybe some of our significant others as opposed to just for us.
So when you guys first started Sanctum, you guys said you were Solana OGs back in 2021. Did you have this permissionless model that you have today where anyone can go in and make their own LST? Or was it more of like a kind of white label, kind of white glove experience where like you picked and chose which companies you wanted to onboard?
So basically in the early days, Sanctum actually started as Socian and created their own LST called SCN Sol, which is now called INF, which is now called Infinity. And basically the vision there was that in the future, because the founders of Sanctum actually worked on the original stake pool program with the Solana Foundation. And so basically the founder had this vision, FP, the CEO, had this vision in the future because of how the stake pool program works on Solana and how staking works on Solana, that there would be a future where you could have thousands potentially of different branded LSTs doing all sorts of different things that could all share one unified liquidity layer. And therefore be somewhat fungible with one another and offer really different benefits. And this was something that wasn't possible in other blockchains like Ethereum, for example. And so with that vision in mind, Sanctum went on to build out the infrastructure layer to create that future. And so basically today we're at this point where that initial vision in 2021 has come true because Sanctum has sort of built those infrastructure pieces one by one that has enabled that to be the case. So I think 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if you wanted to set up lots of LSTs, it would have been really costly because there wasn't a lot of liquidity depth on chain and there were other sort of problems with routing and integrations. But today, with the stack that Sanctum has built, all of that's really seamless. We can launch an LST for a partner like Raiku very quickly, and then immediately it's just plugged into that entire stack, which means that you don't have all that cost and you don't have all the headache. So it's been a process. Definitely didn't start out this way 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to kind of, because I've been around for quite a while as well. To kind of see like where all that kind of came from, because I remember back in the day, you only had really initially the option of native stake, which for a bunch of reasons does kind of suck, right? Like, I mean, obviously like it's important, but like nobody wants to stay locked up for like 3 days or like wait 3 days before their stake starts making money or anything like that, where it's just like you know, and it's cool to kind of see the solutions that everybody's kind of come up with to make it better, and then, you know, deal with the liquidity fragmentation problem as you guys did, like you mentioned with INF. What are some of the like the biggest like partners you guys have right now on you know, that you guys are running LSTs for, or some of the big like I guess biggest partnerships you guys have?
I think probably the most well-known name, the biggest name, would be Jupiter. So rkuSOL is actually a Sanctum LST, and there are plenty others. The second largest by TVL was or is potentially still rkuSOL. So unfortunate what happened there, but they were another one of the large partners that had, you know, quite a substantial amount of SOL stake with their LST. And there are many more. So crypto.com and, you know, Gate, and there is a number of centralized exchanges, which we do the LSTs for as well. And so there's a lot of different partners that we have that sort of have different use cases for their LST. So for example, if you're a borrow lend like Jupiter, as well as everything else that they are, well, for them, it's actually really attractive to have your own LST, rkuSOL, because you could get your users to deposit it on your platform and do something with it. Now, I'm sure Raiku has lots of ideas in mind of what you might do with rkuSOL. And so this is what's cool about our business, is that our partners have different kind of use cases to provide more value to their customers, which is really sort of specific to each partner and their business and their customers. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what you guys do with rkuSOL.
Yeah, so are we. We've been talking about it a while for the past couple of weeks about, you know, the like you were saying, like the use cases for LSTs, for kind of like what being able to direct stake is able to do and add to the network. You know, I think a classic example would be like Jito, you know, use rkuSOL to kind of enable and encourage validators to adopt, you know, these MEV clients and sort of push stake their way. But the reason I was asking like about your biggest partnerships is we just got to know who we're going to be beating, man. So.
I respect the hustle. You know, obviously we have to stay neutral, but you know, we like to see our partners succeed. So hopefully not at the expense of each other, but you know, it is good for everyone when our partners succeed.
Hey, it's only like 16% of stake is liquid right now, so plenty of room to grow the pie for everybody still.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, and speaking of growing that pie, you guys said you launched the Sanctum mobile app. Congrats on that. That's huge. Who are you targeting with this app? Are you looking for like normal retail users that kind of know about Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and that's it? Like, are you mainly targeting these people that they don't really know what staking is, but they're interested in like kind of like the yield portion of it? And how are you guys thinking about that pipeline or that flow?
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away about the roadmap on the app, just given that it's, you know, it's our CEO's baby, and I'd hate to overstep and say something I shouldn't.
We
But
won't get you fired,
basically,
James. We won't get you fired.
thanks, mate. Appreciate that. So with this Sanctum app, we came to the conclusion that even liquid staking still wasn't the final form for staking in our view, in terms of the user experience. You still need a wallet. You still have to be able to on ramp, and there's still all of these barriers to entry for a more retail, less crypto native user. And so as we kind of zoomed out, we realized that, you know, LSTs and everything we've done there is like serving a really valuable purpose in the market. You know, Sanctum is currently the third largest protocol on Solana in terms of TVL. It's entirely from our stake business. Like, we're sitting at over 70 million SOL staked with Sanctum right now, which is crazy. It's actually really, really cool being at Sanctum and seeing that. And so that's validation that what we're doing with our liquid staking business and helping our partners succeed by being this provider is working. But we were thinking, like, how can we bring SOL staking to more people and beyond SOL staking? And so that's where the app came in. And the app really focuses on making it like fun and easy and just way more approachable and way more simple. So I think there are some centralized exchange apps that do a good job of this, but we're doing this the Sanctum way, which is like beautiful design and branding and little gamification elements that make it fun. And that's what we're doing. So right now there's not trading. It's just staking SOL, because that's what our business is. It's what we're known for and it's what we do. But in the future, we have plans to go well beyond just SOL staking. And we're thinking about this of like, how can we differentiate ourselves and not be a trading app, but how can we become an accumulating app, an investing app, a wealth growing app? And so that's kind of like the angle that we're looking at here. But this is a long-term bet for us. We did our Seeker campaign recently with the Sanctum app, and we're working on our, Android and Apple, apps on the stores and going through all that process. So that's coming. But I think the long-term vision for the app is that it's a long-term play for us. It's not a quick, try and get a quick win on the board. This is definitely us taking a long-term view of where we think our industry is going and the kind of how we want to differentiate ourselves.
Love it. I mean, like David said, the only 16% of SOL is liquid staked. Like, that's a pretty small division of the pie, right?
I think it's 16% of all staked SOL is liquid staked. So I think it's like even less than 16% of all SOL. I could be wrong on that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's a pretty small number. So like I said, like that pie's got a lot of room to grow.
So I
agree.
guess from that, like, my question to you, James, is how are you guys thinking about getting more people to stake in these liquid staking tokens? I know I know Eno used to be on your team, and he used to do the Sanctum community calls, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Those were awesome. But he's been taken for the Solana community for ecosystem calls, which are just absolutely incredible. I love watching those. So how are you guys thinking about distribution and like getting more people to stake with these liquid staking tokens?
Okay, so first thing I want to say before I answer your question is I absolutely love Eno, and when I met Eno was before Sanctum days, and he actually was he was emceeing at an event that I was attending. This is many years ago, and I just remember walking up to him when I met him, and I said to him like, "You were born to be on the stage. Like you're incredible." And the whole time working with him at Sanctum, and now him doing the ecosystem call for Solana, massively cheerleading him, and I'm a huge fan of Eno. So even though he's no longer cheerleading Sanctum, seeing him cheerleading the whole Solana ecosystem on the community call, I think is a really awesome thing to see. So anyway, quick sidetrack there. So your question was about sort of distribution for partner LSTs. So how we think about our role with our partner LSTs is we want to be a really good infra provider and a really good support for our partners. The thing that we're careful about is distribution. So how we think about this is our partners have their own core users and they have their own sort of needs for their LSTs. And distribution is kind of for our partners with their customers. It's not for us to kind of step on. So we try not to step on distribution for our partner LSTs, given that we do serve, you know, multiple centralized exchange LSTs. We serve multiple different, you know, teams in Solana that have some competitive elements with each other. So whilst we love our partners, we try not to sort of tread on their toes. But what we do think, to your point, is we do think the pie is small and growing. And so we do think we can all win. And that's kind of what we're focusing on. So how we're doing that at Sanctum is we're trying to make our liquidity layer, which is our value proposition to our partners, even better. Because if our partners' users get a better experience with their LST, because the liquidity layer is really good, then that's better for our partners. And hopefully that means that their customers will be more willing to stake more SOL with their LST.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, you guys do have to take kind of a neutral stance considering you have so many different competing LSTs on your platform. So I totally get that. I would love to go more into like your background, James. You know, what were you doing before? When did you get started at Sanctum? What excites you so much about LSTs?
It's actually quite a funny story. So I think it was maybe 4 years ago. Yeah, I've been moonlighting crypto stuff for like 6 years now. And I actually had a career at KPMG in Australia. I was like in a corporate office building for 7 years. Like, you know, I managed a team and I was doing all this like, you know, traditional career stuff. But in the evenings, I was like moonlighting crypto and contributing and helping teams and like, you know, participating in governance and all this kind of stuff, right? And I sort of caught the bug. And then in 2022, I think it was, I sort of fell down the rabbit hole and discovered Solana. And then I ended up sort of poking around. And I think it might have been 2023. I came across Sanctum long before the TGE and all that stuff that happened with the Jupiter Launchpad and everything. And I basically was like scratching my head, like, what is Sanctum? What are these guys actually doing? And I read all the docs and I kind of like, you know, dug into everything. And I realized there were so many unanswered questions. I was like, these guys have said as little as possible to help me understand what they do and like how they work. And so I basically bombarded the team with questions, like as some random person on Discord. And fortunately for me, they were patient enough and kind enough to give me some responses, little breadcrumbs here and there. And so what I ended up doing was I spent a series of weeks, maybe it was a month or two, just trying to figure it out for myself, how Sanctum worked and what they were doing. And all the pieces started clicking into place for me. And I started doing this whiteboard series where I was like publishing these big elaborate whiteboards on Twitter explaining what Sanctum was and how it worked. And it was my way of kind of figuring it out. And purely by chance, that's shortly after is when Jupiter did their launch, and Sanctum was one of the teams that was going to be part of the Jupiter Launchpad, and there was a vote. And I basically did this series telling everyone they should vote for Sanctum because Sanctum is going to be enormous in Solana for these reasons, purely based on my own sort of digging and discovery. And that kind of put me on the map. And then other teams asked me for help. And I ended up going and quitting my career at KPMG and working at Drift for a bit and helping those guys out. And then eventually I ended up coming full circle back where I knew I belonged, which was at Sanctum. And so for a bit over a year now, I've actually been working at Sanctum, and I'm looking after a number of products and sort of like, painting that future of what we're working on next and having the absolute best time. So really random how I ended up here, but I think it was meant to be.
Definitely sounds like it, man. And I actually do remember that too when Sanctum first came out, because I was also looking through the docs like, I don't know what the hell is going on here. So I actually distinctly remember having that experience myself. I didn't go as in depth as you did at the time, though, for sure. But I mean, that's pretty good job advice, though. Like you want to, for people looking to try to get into crypto full time or something like that, like figure out what it is you're excited about, ask a ton of questions, try to help out where you can. Like back when I was running a jungle, that's how we hired a couple of people too. They just kept showing up, and I'm like, well, eventually, I guess we should probably pay them, right? Like, So yeah, cool to see people still. I guess this would be like the boomer equivalent of just walking in with a firm handshake. You know what I mean? Like, is this the new career advice? Like, is that how that works now?
I honestly think it is, because it's like, it's about what the intentions are. Like, to be honest, when I was doing all of that, I wasn't looking for anything. I was just trying to be helpful. I had a career. I was working already way too much, and I really enjoyed what I was doing in my career. And I was just trying to be helpful. And then that kind of like snowballed. And then I ended up at this fork in the road where it's like, oh, wait, I am now saying no to things that I want to be doing more of, which is all this moonlighting I was doing, just to say yes to the thing that my heart wasn't really pulling me toward, which was my older career, my KPMG career. And so that was that fork in the road for me where I was, there was no big leap of faith. It sort of just ended up where I had to choose, and no looking back. So I think whilst we're on the topic of the career advice, that's what I'd say to people. Just ask lots of questions, try to be useful and helpful, and just keep pulling the threads. Like, I was moonlighting in crypto for like nearly 5 years. I was writing articles and blogs and doing all this stuff, just trying to help people learn and understand before any of this happens. So yeah, just try to be a net producer and things will happen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's so funny that people think just applying to all these job boards especially in crypto, is going to land you a job. Like, that's not the way the world works anymore. People have AI agents that are just bombarding these job boards over and over and over and over again. And there's really no way to set yourself apart. Like, if I was running a company personally, and you're building a product and you see someone really passionate about it, that's clearly knowledgeable about it, like, me personally, I would give that person a job 100 million times over some guy that sends me a PDF through a job application, because like they're actually putting in the work, they're showing genuine interest, and they care about what you're building. So it's a proper onboarding story, James. Proper onboarding story.
Yeah, thanks for prompting that out of me. I wasn't going to share that, so it's nice to relive that.
David and I have a habit of getting information out of our guests. Maybe we will get some alpha on the Sanctum app. I'm just kidding. But going back to Sanctum as a whole, could you talk a little bit about like the Infinity liquidity network that Sanctum uses, and how exactly that powers the LSTs in your platform, and what INF actually is?
Absolutely. So we internally changed the way we think about our products, and we're working on this under this new concept, which is the Sanctum liquidity layer. And the Sanctum liquidity layer is the aggregate of all of our liquidity infrastructure. And of that, there are some components. One of those components is Infinity, of which the token that represents Infinity is called INF. So we often just use those two interchangeably, Infinity and INF. We also have this thing called the reserve, which is like the real liquidity of last resort that's key to our stack. And then we have a new thing, which is where the alpha is, that we're working on to make our liquidity layer even better, which I'm not going to talk about today, but there is something else coming there. So there's going to be 3 core parts of our Sanctum liquidity layer. So you asked me about Infinity, and I'll briefly explain what that is. So basically what Infinity is, it's a big basket of liquid staking tokens and unstaked SOL. And every 2 days, which is kind of like the time in the Solana network where you can unstake, it's called an epoch. Every 2 days, we unstake some of the staked holdings that Infinity holds to top up the unstaked SOL balance. So right now, Infinity is sitting at around 2 million SOL staked, like a TVL. So what that means is we currently, if we're running a 5% unstaked portion, it means every 2 days there's 50,000 SOL that's unstaked, that's just sitting there, that whenever anyone wants to swap any of our partner LSTs for SOL, they can do that for pretty much zero cost. Like, it's minimal. It's like 10 basis points, give or take, and that's to cover the withdrawal fees from the stake pool, which is like not to get too technical, but basically that has to exist to mitigate economic attacks at the boundaries of the epoch. So essentially what Infinity does is it means that if you wanted to launch an LST rkuSOL on your own, you could do it. I'm sure you've got the technical chops on the team, but you wouldn't get certain benefits. You wouldn't get access to our routing layer, our liquidity layer, and you'd have to bootstrap that liquidity yourself, so that when people want to come and stake with rkuSOL, they want to unstake, they want to swap it, you would need to provide all of that liquidity on chain to allow them to do that. And that's really costly because that capital is just sitting there not doing anything. And so Sanctum burdens that cost for our partners. So we have Infinity, which is this big liquidity layer, which means that, it holds 2 million SOL of stake to be able to unstake and swap LSTs. And then we also have the reserve, and the reserve is this big pool of 600,000 SOL just sitting there. And so what we can do is, if Infinity gets depleted really quickly of the SOL balance, then what we can do is we can actually use our router to swap the LST into its stake accounts that are underneath. Then we can take those stake accounts, put them into the reserve, and pull the SOL out of the reserve, and then gradually unstake that over the course of the epoch to give that SOL to the user when and where they want it. And so if we didn't have this, then your users would have to wait 2 days for the unstake period of the network. And the reality is with trading and liquid staking tokens, they need to be liquid. They need to be able to be moved fast to be used in DeFi. And so this is actually really critical infrastructure on the Solana network for liquid staking tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I thank you for clarifying that, because I didn't actually know that there was the reserve pool, but that makes sense that you're able to kind of swap the stake account into the reserve and kind of swap them out that way. Because that was something I'd wondered, but I hadn't actually looked into, was like what happens if that SOL does get depleted, like somebody or some whale is like, yeah, I got 100,000 SOL that I want to unstake right now, like what happens? So cool to get that explanation.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the cool things is the bigger we grow Infinity, the more unstaked SOL we can actually hold there for our partners to unstake. And that's really important in times of market volatility where, there's a lot of demand to unstake. So we have to carefully manage that to make sure that we're keeping enough to meet that demand. But sometimes you get big shocks that you can't predict. And that's where the reserve steps in and sort of is that backstop of last resort for us.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess what are some common like misconceptions about staking on SOL or about LSTs or anything like that you guys kind of run into or deal with?
Misconceptions. I guess, like, to be honest, I don't know that people fully appreciate the security of liquid staking tokens. So most liquid staking tokens on Solana are using the official Solana program library stake pool program, which has been audited a bajillion times and is used by all LSTs on Solana. And so, when you're working with a provider like Sanctum, you're not taking this like specific risk on that team, and it's like, creating all these different attack vectors. Like, a lot of people come to staking from Ethereum on Solana. They come to Solana staking from Ethereum, and in that world you have to give up custody of your asset. You have to like trust a counterparty with your ETH, and there's all these kind of extra sort of attack vectors from a security perspective. And I think there's a bit of baggage that comes with that when people come to staking on Solana. Or maybe I'm just showing my age coming from Ethereum to Solana. Maybe people are just coming straight to Solana and skipping Ethereum, but I've seen a lot of that baggage coming across, and I really think that people underappreciate just how secure liquid staking tokens are on Solana compared with other ecosystems. Is the key point I'm trying to make.
I mean, if you do just raw comparisons of the number of exploits compared from Ethereum to Solana, I mean that number is already negligible. So
Yeah, yeah. And look, and also just to give you like just to add a little bit more flavor to the point that I was making, like, you know, if you are partnering with Sanctum to launch your LST, and like, as Raiku have, and you're in the situation where you're wondering, like, what risks could this pose? You might consider, well, do I have a counterparty risk here? What if something happens to Sanctum? Well, the good news here is that even if something happened to Sanctum, rkuSOL is still safe. rkuSOL is still operational. It is still accruing yield for its holders. There's very little damage that Sanctum could do to that. And I think that is like the security element, I think is underappreciated. And I've recently come to the conclusion after the April 1st, you know, exploit of Drift, and a lot of people were asking questions about security. I realized in that moment, I was like, wow, we've not done a good job at all at Sanctum explaining like actually how secure LSTs on Solana are, and how even though our partner Drift was exploited, the LST was completely safe. It is still one of the highest yielding LSTs on Solana, not skipped a beat. And so, you know, I think that's a point worth making, is that LSTs are extremely secure and safe on Solana, at least from like that security perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you literally have the proof of that, because I remember I was looking and I was surprised. I think this was like last week, and I was looking and I was like, oh, at the time I think Drift was still the largest LST that you guys had. I don't know if that's true anymore, but I was
It's
like,
like,
oh wow, no,
yeah,
yeah, like it's just
close.
still ticking along, still just
Yeah.
still working great. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really is crazy. Pretty good
Yeah.
proof point though. I mean, sucks what happened to them, but
Yeah, it's really sad what happened, and I personally lost funds. I mean, I was working on Drift, you know, a long time before Sanctum, and you know, I really like the team and what the guys are doing, and yeah, it's really unfortunate what happened. So we shouldn't dwell on it, but you know, it's a good case in point that LST security is actually top notch, which is great for, you know, I guess your users here considering staking with rkuSOL versus staking natively. And the reason I bring this up actually is because, you know, I think one of the core arguments that people would make is that, well, there's less liquid staked on Solana than native staked because native staking is safer. And I get the spirit of that argument, but I think in practice, it's not necessarily really that much different. Like, you know, to the point that I was making, LSTs are so extremely secure. The core of the argument is, well, if you have a liquid staking token, you have this, you know, slight extra potential risk vector. But I just don't think it's a reasonable argument when the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, LSTs on Solana are just as secure.
yeah. Well, because I mean, at this point, it's like, especially with the amount of audits and everything, there are a couple like core programs on Solana that like technically they're not enshrined, but they might as well be. You know what I mean? And the stake pool program is definitely one of those. You know, where it's like, yeah, technically it is a program and that's not, you know, part of the base layer protocol, but it kind of basically is. You know?
Yeah. And even the program itself has all of these mitigations in place to minimize the damage that a manager of that stake pool could actually do. And that's actually the true reason why, even if Sanctum something happened to us, God forbid, the LSTs are still secure, because there are these mitigations in place to mean that the manager can do their job as a good manager, but the damage that they could do if, you know, if something went wrong is extremely limited to pretty much non-existent. And that's part of the design of the stake pool. So it's very secure.
it's kind of funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's ironic that this whole industry was built on like permissionless, trustless kind of values, and most of the exploits that happen in crypto nowadays are social engineering exploits. Like
Yep.
even with the Drift protocol exploit, like it was extremely sophisticated. I think someone said it was a social engineering exploit that went over like a 6-month period, which is insane. And like they met in person and it was crazy. But
Yep.
like social engineering attacks in crypto, they shouldn't fundamentally be possible as long as people are following like the fundamentals of crypto, which is like no one person or entity should be able to manipulate or like take someone's apes, so they say. So it's just a very weird dynamic that the industry is in right now, and hopefully the Drift protocol hack was a wake up for a lot of teams that like we should eliminate all risk of us ever being socially engineered or anything like that. So good on you guys for taking those precautions.
Yeah, I'd also like to shout out the Solana Foundation here. I don't know how obvious this is, but when that happened, the Solana Foundation, like, they jumped so quickly on that and went really like war room. How do we make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else in the ecosystem? Like, what can we do? And really, to the Solana Foundation's credit, they've been working with all Solana ecosystem teams to make sure that security is top notch, that they have support for audits and whatever is needed to strengthen security at, you know, the technical layer, the code layer, but also the squishy layer, that human layer. So yeah, big ups to the Solana Foundation and for everyone in the ecosystem rallying around. And I mean, for us, even, you know, when that happened, we were like, okay, let's take a look at our own security. Like, it was just a moment for everyone to look in the mirror and say, you know, what can we do to make sure that we're not, you know, that we're airtight as well. So yeah, good things came from that, hopefully. And yeah, Solana Foundation doing a great job there.
Yeah. I while we're on the topic of security though, Nate, we had some good news earlier, I think last week, late last week. We at Raiku actually just passed our security audit from OtterSec. Full report is now live and available in our docs, which I've also gotten a bit of a rework. I don't know if people are listening and have checked out the site, but that's gotten a small rework, and fairly large rework actually. We kind of rebuilt the entire thing. Should be a lot faster to navigate, a lot less sort of fluff, and a lot quicker, more usable information. So go check that out. But yeah, that was kind of a really cool milestone for us internally. So we got you should see audit reports. There's they're on the left, Nate, right above staking. You know, right above up where it says audit rate. Yep, there we go.
Aha, the audit reports button. Yes,
Yes.
the button that's right in front of my eyes. How could I miss it? How could I miss it?
But yeah, so Raiku program audit final.pdf, which you know it was a good result because it says final, not final.final v2. You know.
Yeah, this is huge. So not only did we launch rkuSOL, but we also launched a new fancy website. If you have not looked at it and feasted your eyes at this beautiful website, then please go to raiku.com. Tell all your friends about it. Tell your grandma, tell your dog. The new Raiku website is live and world peace has been achieved as a result of it. It's actually true. Ask David. He can attest to that and be held legally liable for that claim as well.
Oh, for the world peace, yeah. Similar to like how AGI has been achieved internally, definitely for sure.
A new website has been achieved internally. So yeah, we got a couple of cards here. We simplified a lot of things, and we also added a stake button. So you can go to raiku.com/stake, click the deposit button, and go straight into depositing your SOL into rkuSOL. I did it myself. It took 5-6 seconds to do so because Solana is fast and based. But
I do have to say, I know right now it says APY 3.86, which is technically accurate, but because it runs on like a 10 epoch average and it just hasn't been alive long enough to have that full average, that number is like, it's still technically the 10-day average or the 10 epoch average, but it's not the actual rate you're getting. I think the last epoch was like 5.79%, if I remember correctly. So that number's like, it's not lying, but it's lying. You know what I mean?
This is always a challenge for us when our partners launch in LSTs. They say, "Oh no, why is the APY so low?" And the truth is that it isn't low, but it also is per that metric because it's a new LST. So it's this weird thing to explain where people think that they're getting a low APY, but it's just because it's a new LST, and actually the APY is nice and high and strong. So yeah, do not be concerned if you see that. This happens for all new LST creations on Solana. Part of the reason, actually, I might clarify, which is also one of the things that isn't well understood, is that actually when you activate stake on Solana, there's this activation period. So when you activate it, you have to wait until the next epoch boundary before it starts earning yield. And that's because Solana kind of runs at these 2-day epochs. And so, you know, when you mint your new LST, that stake has to wait until the epoch boundary to become active. And so if you're a new LST like rkuSOL, you know, in the first couple of days, you might get a huge amount of inflows, and for, you know, until the next epoch boundary for a day, that's not yet active. So, that also sort of comes into consideration in the APY calculation. So do know that you will be getting maximum APY. It's just that it's like a numbers thing.
Yeah, appreciate you clearing that up. I think the native staking has it better reflected. I think because we're pulling that from a different data source, if I remember correctly. Is that 5.77?
Yeah.
So that's more like what you're actually getting. Obviously, yeah, but yeah, I appreciate you you kind of breaking that down for us because yeah, somebody was in a Telegram group that Nate and I are in was like, wait, why does the number suck? I was like, it doesn't. I mean, it like yeah.
It's purely just because we're displaying 10 epochs and it hasn't been 10 epochs and the stake activation. So it's an anomaly, but you're getting a high staking rate. So disregard.
Good to know for sure. For sure. So James, there's liquid staking, there's native staking. What would you say, like, are there any drawbacks to liquid staking versus native staking, or is native staking just kind of overall not as good compared to liquid staking? Like, would you say in every way that liquid staking is kind of like an evolution of native staking?
I think it is an evolution because, but it's in one respect, if native staking could be instantly unstaked and therefore the capital wasn't locked, then liquid staking wouldn't need to exist. Liquid staking, it can exist because the capital has to be locked to stake in the first place. And so it's like this weird thing where it's like they need each other. Liquid staking needs native staking to exist because without this locked period, you wouldn't have the need for it to have the liquid staking token to represent it. So I guess there's one thing. It's like, the yin and the yang. I won't fully poo-poo on liquid native staking for that reason. But what I will say about liquid staking is I think there's a lot of benefits that people don't fully appreciate. So to give you an example, I am a resident of a country called Australia. And in Australia, we have some of the highest income tax rates in the world. So if you are somebody who natively stakes, if you live in a country like Australia, well, your government, your tax authority will look at the native staking, and every 2 days when you get staking yield, it'll consider that as income tax. And it'll hold out its hand and say, give us half of that when it comes tax time. And so that is really, really painful because it is a massive administrative burden to keep track of that. This is a personal problem that I have had. But if you hold an LST, for example, on the contrary, if you hold an LST, that staking yield gets to compound inside of the stake pool. That's not income tax. So you're basically compounding the yield, but it's not considered as income. And so it's very tax advantage to hold an LST as opposed to a natively staked token to fit for you if you kind of live in a tax jurisdiction like that. Now, this is not meant to be advice from Sanctum. This is my personal experience and blah, blah, blah. But I think that's one of the many ways in which LSTs are very much more advantageous for a user than native staking. And obviously, there's the things that everyone knows about, like you can take it, you can use it in DeFi, you can borrow against it. It's really capital efficient. Everyone knows all that stuff. But I think some things that are underappreciated is like it's very tax advantaged if you pay high income tax.
Yeah, David and I being Americans, we're very aware and in severe pain all the time because of taxes. And I believe the US has similar tax laws where like whatever money you make from staking at the moment that staking is distributed, that's a taxable event.
Yeah.
And I believe the same is for mining as well, which is just absolutely ridiculous, first of all.
It's such a nightmare.
Dude, I literally like I'm the reason my old tax guy retired like a couple years early. He's like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. Like he fucked off to California. I'm not even kidding.
2 reasons. 1, you paid him so much to solve that problem. And 2, he never wanted to deal with a problem like that again.
Yeah, basically. Well, because this was like, this was for, like 2021, like back when FTX was like the big thing. And I was doing a whole bunch of trading and like market making across like 30 or 40 different markets. And just, he was like, I hate all of this.
Yeah. Relatable.
The good old days when you could show up in a Discord server and make $10,000 and then leave. If only we could go back. If only we could go back.
Simpler times.
Not financial advice, but who
Not for
knows?
his tax accountant here.
Yeah, not for David's tax accountant. He does not want that time to ever come back. He might
Well,
just
I mean,
pass away.
he doesn't care. He's retired. He's off on a beach in California now. So
What a beast.
yeah.
What a beast.
Oh. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, sorry, David, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I would say, how would you think about it? Again, none of this is financial advice. But when you're deciding like where to stake your Solana or what LST to put it in, how do you think about that process just personally? And again, this is not financial advice. We'll leave that as the disclaimer and everything, but
yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, before I worked at Sanctum, I held a number of LSTs. So I stopped native staking in 2023, I think, because the tax reasons. It was just, I had to keep spreadsheets and it was just a nightmare. And so then I switched over to liquid staking tokens. And then I basically held a portfolio of liquid staking tokens. Now, why someone might do this is they might want to support different teams. They might want to spread the validator network, so spread their stake among disparate validators on the Solana network. There's many different ways you could approach this. If you wanted to maximize APY, like just purely SOL APY, you might just find the one that looks the best and just stake all in that. But that could change, that could go down. It might no longer be the best. And then you have to deal with the consequences of switching between. So I personally have most of my SOL staked with INF, and I have had for like 4 years now. So since before Sanctum and still at Sanctum. And that's a product that I look after now to try and make it better for INF holders and for our partners. So, I personally hold stake there, but, similarly, I also hold many of our partners' LSTs personally too. Purely based on, it spreads the stake among validators among the network. And I feel like I'm supporting different teams on the network. So yeah, I'm a bit a bit lame in that regard, just trying to do the right thing by everyone. Maybe rkuSOL will be next to the portfolio.
It should be. It should be. I mean, we're a little biased, but
as am I, mate. As am I.
So,
I don't hold any rkuSOL for what that's worth.
Hey, okay. I mean, we'll take whatever we can get. We'll take whatever we can get. Speaking of the INF token, so when someone stakes with INF token, is that stake being distributed across a bunch of different partners? Is that being staked specifically with you guys? How does it kind of fit into like the greater goals of Sanctum as a company and the relationship with the partners?
So what we used to do with INF is we actually used to hold a really long tail, like a big basket of different partner LSTs. And that had problems. And one of the problems was that then some partners expected more and others less. And that was a bit tricky for us to manage because then INF started getting treated like a delegation program, which it absolutely isn't. And so as one of the things that I did when I set the roadmap for our Sanctum liquidity layer at Sanctum was redesign INF, which included the portfolio, the allocation of the portfolio, the thinking behind it, and sort of repositioning INF in what its true purpose is, which is for our partners, for liquidity. And so what I discovered through that process was actually what made more sense for our partners and for their users and for Sanctum was if we actually made the portfolio much narrower, so less long tail with random LSTs that were really low APY, and instead more targeted to just a very small basket in a much higher concentration, rebalancing more frequently, and then making the rebalances much more efficient. The way we did the rebalances previously was not optimal. Our portfolio was not optimal. But since launching INF V2 maybe 2 months ago now, we have changed the portfolio and we've also made the rebalancing a lot more efficient. Part of that means that a lot more of the stake sits with the Sanctum validator, which makes our rebalancing and unstaking and our management of INF much simpler, and it doesn't hurt our partners as much. One of the problems is INF has to unstake every epoch. It has to do that to top up the balances so that it can service liquidity. That was really hard for some of our partners to digest in the past when they would lose a big chunk of stake in a single epoch, and it feels really bad for them. but that's because they were benefiting from the stake for a long time, and then we had to unstake some to service liquidity for their LST, and it just never feels bad when you're the one losing stake. So what actually made more sense was that we just narrowed it and optimized for unstakes, and so no longer it's like a delegation program. Now it's more just this delayed unstake for our partners. You could think of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, especially for some of the smaller validators. We've talked a lot about this on our streams and our articles and stuff. You know, smaller validators are not having a great time right
It's
now on the
tough.
network. Yeah, it's tough. So, you know, yeah, I can't imagine it would feel great to just be like, wait, why? You know, wake up like, man, I'm already struggling. Where'd all my stake go?
Yeah, it's really tough, and I do feel for a lot of the validator teams where, you know, and by design, the network has decreasing inflation, so the inflation rate goes down over time, and that's designed into the network. But it just means that the costs get harder and harder for independent validators and smaller teams running validators to sustain. Yeah, so it's a tough time, and I mean, I think part of it is also the network activity. You know, today there's really big things going on Solana, but the reality of the market environment is there's less overall activity in crypto, and so that just means that there's less APY, there's less, you know, there's a bit less action for the validators. So it seems like, you know, there's a bit of squishing and compression going on there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
for sure.
tough times.
I actually, I don't know if you're familiar, but they're talking about dropping block times and having that. That they're planning on rolling out over the course of like a month, dropping it, I think, every like week or something like that by 50 milliseconds. And that's also going to make it kind of harder for validators. I'm curious if you, how closely do you keep up on some of like the SIMDs and stuff like that?
So we actually have one of the co-founders looks after our validator team, and there are a few very, very technical guys on the validator team at Sanctum. I am not on that team. I am not one of those guys. So that is the honest answer. Do I keep a high-level peripheral view at what's going on? Yes, I do. Could I give you a really good answer that's going to satisfy your question? Probably not.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So they do exist in Sanctum. I'm just not that guy.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's a lot of Nate and I too. And like he's the one that's better at talking to people, and I'm the one nerding out over like, oh, they're doing this with the blocks and the validators and the hardware and the whatever.
I mean, look, all of it to me is just, it's IBRL. Like, all of this is to be expected, and I just expect more of it. So, you know, will block times get smaller? Will the bandwidth get thicker and bigger? And will we be cramming more into each block? Like, I don't see that trend reversing. Totali's not going to flip his, you know, philosophy overnight. And yeah, they're trying to create internet capital markets and take over the world. And the only way to do that is to be really, really fast and really, really big and high throughput. So
that's right.
Yeah.
No Ethereum mindset over here.
No, ultrasound money.
Ultrasound money. You know, I used to be a really big Ethereum guy. I was like, back in 2021, 2022, before I started full time at Raiku, I was like, it was like do or die Ethereum for me. And I feel like a lot of people back in the day felt that way. But I don't know, ever since I came to Solana and like I've been able to experience the culture and, you know, work with the team that's deep into the trenches and understand like what Solana's actually trying to do without like the Ethereum fudders in my ear. It's just such a different vibe. Like, it feels like everyone here really wants to win against TradFi, and everyone in Ethereum is like, oh, well, let's just make this theoretical paper and we're gonna do this thing maybe like 10, 20 years from now. And you know, it's all theoretical, it's gonna take a ton of work. But you know, Vitalik's writing a sci-fi novel, so maybe that'll do something for Ethereum price. I don't know.
I relate to this very personally. So I started off in Ethereum land as well. I remember when I used MetaMask for the first time in 2019, I think it was, and I was just blown away. I was like, this is amazing. I don't need to give my driver's license to anyone. It's 2 a.m. on a Friday, and I'm just like doing this in my bedroom in the dark, and like, this is incredible. I remember like doing transactions and opening up Etherscan and like seeing them settle and just being like, holy shit, this is it. This is the next layer of like the financial rails. Like, I was just so pulled up. The future of France, man. Like, I was bought in. I was bought in. And then I attended some events and I kind of noticed the culture in Ethereum was very philosophical and a little bit like, I don't know, like a little bit condescending and overly intellectual. And then when I started going to Solana events in like 2022 maybe, or 2023, I can't remember, it was like so approachable. Everyone was just like so down to earth and approachable and just trying to build stuff and trying things and just doing stuff. And I was like, okay, this feels a lot more like I'm welcome here than in Ethereum. And that was like the slow merge for me, where I just became like a full Solana, like, yeah, the Solana guy. It just, sorry, to your point there, to me, that is just so clear of how important culture is. And it's like, that's top down. Like Tolly and Raj have created that culture, and it literally is just everywhere in our ecosystem, across teams, across events, everywhere.
Yeah, it's literally ship or die. Like that is the culture.
Yeah.
Last week we got a nice hot spicy take that I really liked, actually, from Austin Perdera. We had him on the stream from Double Zero, and his take was, I feel like we're not breaking the network often enough. Like, we've got 2 years of uptime. Like, what are we doing? We're not shipping fast enough. And I'm like, I love that. I mean, like, I can see both sides of the argument, but yeah, you know what I mean? But coming from that sort of mindset, as opposed to, let's make sure we think it all and argue endlessly about, maybe this is good, maybe this is good, just ship something and see if it works. Maybe not always at the protocol level, but certainly like at the application level, it's like, just try stuff, build stuff, ship stuff, man. Go.
Yeah. Yep. Agree. It's actually quite amazing. You mentioned that, and I thought, oh wow, I forgot about that. Like, yeah, there were these outages and things that happened. Like, it's like that just doesn't exist in my mind anymore. I've completely forgotten about that. Good thing Austin's no longer at the foundation. Otherwise, we might be.
We'd have an outage every 4 hours.
Yeah,
it would be over.
Sorry, Austin.
If they let me into the Solana code base, with Codex, we would take the Solana network down every 5 minutes. I guarantee it. So if you want downtime, Alessandro, and if you're listening to this, give me access to the repo, and I will destroy it with Codex.
You're gonna get one guide.
You were like Alessandro's worst nightmare, I think. He's like, I would rather jump off of a building than let this happen.
I am. I'm like the Joker to his Batman, essentially. I don't read the code. I have Codex read the code, and I just tell it what to do, and it's a good relationship. It works.
Claude, make Solana 100x faster. Make no mistakes. Go.
Has anybody tried that? I feel like someone should try that. Like, put a goal on it. Tell Codex or Claude, make Solana 100 times faster, and just let it rip. Like, just let it run. Unlimited tokens. Like, a few months from now, we might be as fast as Ethereum.
You're gonna have to be that guy and send Anza the bill. Send him the invoice, mate.
Hey, let me get their email. I'll send him a preemptive invoice for the work I'm about to do. But we do have 2 minutes left, James. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming onto the stream for this monumental launch of rkuSOL. Are there any final thoughts from your end? Anything else you wanted to share about Sanctum, yourself? Where can we find you, et cetera, et cetera?
So you can find me on Twitter, and my handle is James Hanley. I believe it's at James Hanley. I did change that a little while ago. Let me have a look. It is James Hanley. So that's James and then Hanley. You can find me there. I'm at Sanctum, so you can find Sanctum on Twitter at SanctumSO. You can look at our website, sanctum.so. Yep, that's me there. That's the guy. So yeah, look, I think not to make this about me or Sanctum, because that's not what we're about. We want our partners to succeed. So I guess to everyone, it's like, I just say, just stake with some soul with rkuSOL. Maybe you want to compete for the leaderboard slot with these guys and try and take out the top slot, or maybe you just want to stake a little bit. But I think it's really cool that you guys, I mean, we didn't even talk about this during the stream, which is what Raiku is actually doing. But yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys are pushing the boundaries. You're trying to service a gap in the market that you've identified. And it's just really cool to be partnering with teams that are pushing the boundaries, pushing our industry forward. So yeah, really happy for you guys. Excited to be the partner, the launch partner, and excited to see your LST grow and see what you do with it.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. We obviously we're very excited as well. So it was really funny because James just mentioned like right before we went live, he's like, yeah, I saw Robin's interview on Lightspeed, and then I was like, oh, what did you think? And then he gave like a little like 2-minute like explainer. He's like, yeah, like this is what I like. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is my understanding of what you guys are doing. And I was like, we should have just like clipped that or been recording because it was fantastic. But we'll be talking much more about the product and everything coming up very, very soon because it's about time we start getting it in the hands of people. So that'll be we're going to be working towards that over the next. I'm not allowed to give timelines yet, but this is step 1, and steps 2 through however many there are coming in rapid succession. So
We finna cook.
we finna cook.
We finna cook. We finna cook. But thank you, James, for your time. Thank you, Sanctum, for partnering with us on rkuSOL. Go stake rkuSOL. The QR code is that way on the stream. If you miss it, go to stake.raiku.com, join the Discord. You get a special role if you hold 10 plus rkuSOL just for you. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. And let's keep the ball rolling. But we'll see you at the Raiku Town Hall on Friday. Peace.